I am so excited about today's Rainmaker podcast because I have JJ Mazzo with me, an old friend, a guy I will never forget meeting for the first time, and someone I just feel so interconnected with. You are a soul brother, JJ. And while our upbringings and paths into the mortgage world and into coaching aren't exactly the same, everything about your story and the chip on your shoulder and the focus that you've had, I can relate to. And I know our listeners are going to just get so much out of this podcast. You're just in the launch of your first book. You are a published author, dude. Perseverance Principles. And if there's anybody that could be the poster boy for perseverance, and not only just in your own life, as a man, as a father, as a husband, as a coach, as a loan officer, but also the way you've taught and duplicated that in your team and the people that you coach. JJ, you're still in production. Your team will do over $100 million in business this year, 160 units. You run a division with 55 loan officers in your division. You send daily devotionals. You are a man of Christ and you're proud of it. And you've now written this book and you co-founded Impact Elite Coaching with our good friends. And we have the same first coach, Josh Sigmund, who's now your business partner in Impact Elite Coaching. And so I'm excited to unpack how you've had some incredible success as a loan officer and how you've taken tough times and struggle and how you've developed these perseverance principles. So thank you so much for being on the show with me.
Oh, thank you. I couldn't agree more. It's like my soul sister for sure. And it's insane how fast time goes. So thank you for having me. I'm super grateful to be here.
Well, if you haven't met JJ, he's like the real deal. He is authentically and fully himself. You have tattoos on your neck. I don't think anybody would question whether this guy is a badass, but you are heartfelt. You have been married now, coming up on 20 years. To Kim. You've got 2 daughters. You're a girl dad. Yep. And you've been in the business for 28 years. Before we get into it, I just want to know, what are you and Kim going to do to celebrate 20 years?
Well, we have a plan to go get our wedding vows renewed in Maui, which is where we got married at the time. And then we always wanted to go to like stay in one of those huts. And so we're going to go to Tahiti since it's right there and check that out. We didn't have a honeymoon per se last time. So it's going to be kind of cool 20 years later. Not that we could have afforded a honeymoon at that time anyway. So it's perfect.
Well, your book goes into a deep dive into your personal story and struggles with addiction and parents in a very unstable situation, a lot of dangerous things that you've been through, your perseverance and redemption through all of that. But one thing I love is how you've said Kim has stuck by your side through financial ruin, through bankruptcy, through drugs, through instability. And so I just got to think this 20-year anniversary is like mega special.
It's for sure mega special. Yeah. The fact she's still here is a blessing from God for sure. And I thank God for it every single day.
So why do you think she stuck around?
I honestly, I don't know. I mean, just love is the best way to say it. We definitely love each other very, very much, still very much in love and, best friends. So I think that's super important. And we've been through all this stuff together. So it's not like, it's not like it was me versus her. It was always, just us together going through this stuff, good, bad, or indifferent, and just pushing forward through the other side. Wisdom doesn't start happening until your 40s. So, prior to wisdom even setting in and prior to having Christ setting in, and, that's just part of this journey. Everyone has it, some are more extreme than others.
And what are you hoping to imprint on your daughters through writing this book and through the life that you've lived? What are you hoping to show them or model for them?
I think do hard shit anyways. That's the thing. Just do it anyways. Be yourself. And then most importantly, just follow Christ. At the end of the day, that for me, that's been the end all and kind of the winning end of the story, if you will.
That's beautiful. So you had said before the show that you went to the Ritz to get married at
Yeah.
28 years old. You spent every dollar you didn't have.
Yeah, every dollar, and maxed out every credit card to
And
make
now you're
that
going
happen.
back to the Ritz, back to the Four Seasons Bora Bora. You get to really enjoy what you've done, and this is after publishing and promoting your book. So I'm just so happy for you, JJ, and for 2026 and what that's going to feel like that you've been through this incredible milestone. And so I want to break down. I met you at the Core. I remember seeing you sitting at the bar after a session and getting to meet you, and you were kind of trying to decide, am I going to be in the program or not? I looked at you and I thought, this guy's got a real skeptical look on his face. Like, I'm not really sure if these are my people or not. Like, put me back to that version of JJ. What was going on in your mind? What was your behavior like? What was your life like before you started getting coached by Josh Sigmund, who also was my first coach? Like, tell me about that moment.
Yeah, I think skeptical is probably the perfect thing to say, because at that point, I was skeptical about everything. I had been pretty successful doing refinances and call centers up to a certain point, and then lost everything and had to relearn the entire business. So think of it for about 12, 13 years, and I'm doing refinances, subprime, and now I have to do purchase loans and agency paper, which is learning a whole new set of guidelines and way of doing things and face-to-face and all of that. So I was skeptical, I was scared, but I didn't have any other choice other than reinventing myself, because there weren't any subprime loans left, and the internet lead business was decimated from our industry being decimated. So, it was skepticism is, unfortunately, it was just in so much of me growing up skeptical about, when you get let down over and over again by different situations, you end up becoming a bit skeptical. And so I don't want to say I'm not an optimist. I'm way more of an optimist, but I'm probably somewhere in between now.
Yep.
But then I was definitely skeptical. Hey, are these the people? Are they for real? I've never seen or heard this before. Can I trust? And ultimately I think it just came down to, meeting the people that, like you and Josh, that are still in my life to this day. That became apparent to me. But then also just going, man, I don't have a choice. So it seems like these people know what they're doing. And I always joke about this. It would be me going up to you and Josh going, okay, you guys really do that? You're like, yeah. Will you show me how to do that? Yeah. And then you showed me how to do that. And then I just went and did that. And then I got the same results, right? It wasn't really more complicated than that.
Yeah, you did. So you went from $200,000 in income to $2 million in income in 2 years. And I hope with every episode of this podcast that the people listening will just get to that place of making the decision. Just decide. Decide to change your life. Decide to change your money patterns. Decide you can up-level the people that you're hanging around. Decide that you can become a better version of you, and the disciplined version of you that can go out and get shit done and elevate. So was there anything else important in that moment that helped you decide, that helped you make that shift? Because obviously you were a good salesperson. You could do refis, you could do mortgage. You're a technician by trade, right? In the Rainmaker archetype, you're
Yep.
very technical. But what else was important about that change that catapulted you to that higher level?
Man, I think for me at the time, it was just survival. It was an instinct to survival, fear of failure and shame, and having a young family. So it was all of those things. And those are great drivers to a certain extent, like when you still have those drivers 8 years later, not necessarily a really great thing to have, which, in time you learn to unpack that and change that. But at the time, that was it. It was a real, fight or flight, and it was a fight type of moment for me. And so then it was all in. And I was very, what I didn't realize, that I think a lot of people don't realize, is I was disciplined. If you looked at how areas of my life, I lacked discipline in all kinds of areas of my life, but there's always an area in our life where we're disciplined. And I don't care if maybe for some people it's playing an instrument or dancing or reading, or they were book smart, or they were salespeople, but there's an area where going to the gym where they're disciplined. And if you can just tap into that discipline, that you have in something that you enjoy or are really good at, which didn't happen overnight for anybody, and then just aim it in the direction of everything else, then that's where everything gets elevated. For me, I didn't aim it in the direction of everything else, but I did aim it in the direction that I needed it to go. And I think and I just surrendered to the process and who was coaching me. I let the coach so that I can play as a player. And I didn't really second guess things. And I think that's what a lot of us do. And as coaches, we see a lot of our clients and students do that, and so I appreciate it. I've been there. But at that particular time, I wasn't there. I didn't have any other choice. So I just did what I was told.
I love that you said that you got to find where you are disciplined, because you're right. Like, we all have it in some area. And then you have to create a different relationship, at least for me, with the word discipline, that it's actually not negative, that it is the thing that will allow you to freaking blow up, that will allow you to experience the best of yourself. And that's a positive thing that just keeps building and building and building. As you see more results from your discipline, you do more of the work that gets you more results. And whether that's peace, joy, or just straight up making the calls and booking the damn appointments that we all need to do. So talk to me about being a technician networker. So as a technician, you're strategic, you're looking for efficiencies, you're trying to find the fastest way to help somebody meet their goal. And then as a networker, you're working to expand your network and referral partners. So you start getting coached. What was your strategy to find more referral partners right away using those two archetypes?
Yeah. So for me at the time, it was very much, I loved mortgage because it was problem solving, and I love solving problems. It's like fun for me. And I didn't realize that I was really not great at math, not great at algebra. And ironically, in the loan business, all we do is algebra problems all day long. So I did fall in love with that aspect of it. And I wanted to help people get in stable situations where I wasn't. So I didn't have stable living situations, and that was a big thing for me. And then I was able to buy my first home very young, and then my parents after that, which they were much older, and I wanted to help other people figure that out because it was really game-changing and life-changing for me. So it really did start out that way. But then some of my clients, my FHA clients, my VA clients, after the crash happened in 2013, things were really starting to pick up quite a bit, but my clients were not getting their offers accepted. And I found that so many of my competitors couldn't close in 30 days. I mean, they were closing late on 30 days all the time. And I just didn't see the point. So we reverse engineered the loan process from the application all the way through the closing, and figured out like, it's very doable to do this in half the time as long as everyone grabs the baton at the right time and moves it forward. And so reverse engineered that, came out with a 15-day close at the time guarantee. And that's what we pitched. And obviously in a market where it's highly competitive and multiple offers, when they started seeing that execute, then it started building reputation. And then reputation for execution is all you need. And that opens doors. So I was able to really attack the listing agents at that time to build my business, which was setting up that key appointment on a transaction where many of them were just trying to see if I could fail. That's the honest. They're like, hey, worst case scenario, he fails and we'll take the backup offer. Best case scenario, he knocks it out of the park and we close in 2 weeks. And so when I was really executing over and over again, which had a lot to do with my team, that's where the momentum came. And once I saw that, I just kept my value add very, very simple, that was the main thing that I focused on for a long time.
Phenomenal. And you kept your messaging simple. You kept your process simple. You got everybody aligned and bought into it. And like you said, it was a shocking thing. And I remember, JJ, watching you grow and coaching and being coached around you, and still looking at that ridiculous offer, because you eventually moved it to a 10-day close. Yeah.
Now because everyone closed quick, it's a 10-day close with $1,000 per diem guarantee. It's like, what I find now is there's so much value add now in our business. 10 years ago, 15 years ago, there wasn't as much value as you see in our business. And that's a kudos to everyone in our industry, just pushing value to the next level, where it's like, so many of my agent partners now, like some of them said, hey, do you think you can still, close this in 15 days? And I'll remind them, like, buddy, I don't think you and I in 10 years have ever closed anything longer than 15 days. So there's so much value that they have to ask, well, can you do this? Can you do that? So there's something to being real special about just being very focused on 1 to 3 value adds only, and just pitching that over and over again, where now I think people have too many value adds, and it's hard for the realtor to remember which is your value add versus really being strategic. And then the folks that their value add is, rate, and then they get surprised while they're losing the rate. Well, you just taught them that rate's what matters. And then there's always going to be someone with a better rate than you or willing to lie about it. So you can't be surprised that you get that used against you. So I see that's probably the biggest frustration in the market, and probably a great reminder having this conversation as I business plan for next year. Let's just go all in on 2 or 3 things that we've really always been good at and just talk about those value adds only. So thank you for sparking that reminder for me.
Yeah, it's amazing. And what's so cool is that even me seeing you crush it with that and being hyper competitive, I still said, good for him, I'm not doing it. And so I want everybody to realize that what JJ just said is you find your thing and then really have confidence that that's going to make a difference and solve people's problems. JJ used the fact that he's a technician and really knows how to do loans well. If you don't know loans well and calling out deal killers like immediately in a pre-approval, you cannot do that. You will fall flat on your face. You will have way more stress than you need. The second thing is you're a very strong, clear communicator, JJ. People listen to you. There is no mincing of your words. So when you tell a buyer, we're going to close in 10 days, here's exactly what I need you to do, you're getting buy-in and setting expectations and then holding people to it. And so again, if you're not a strong technician and you're not a very clear, direct communicator that people get it and influence people through that, this is going to be hard for you. And then finally, having a team and being a leader of the team and supporting your team and saying, everybody's got to do their role, and it's high pressure and it's high stress every single time. But JJ, you've kept your team together a long time. Your processor's been with you for how long?
Yeah, so some of my team for a long time. You learn as you build teams, like, I wasn't so great at it at first, but a lot of my team my processor's been with me 18 years. So that's pretty special. So since the crash, and then a lot of my team members as well too. But you learn what you should do and shouldn't do. I was definitely way more of a bulldozer than a collaborator when building my team, and I think most of us are. But now I think being, more collaborative is what we're looking for. Because if we bulldoze, then it's going to be you may have a team, but it's just going to be a team of one, essentially. So yeah, super grateful to have a lot of the folks still here.
So how have you kept your relationships at scale, JJ? So, we tell people, okay, call listing agents, go on buddy lunches, go networking, get on social media, market, depending on what your archetype is, double down and meet more people. You've got to have massive contact in sales. Then you've got to build rapport and you've got to close. And obviously you had a very clear, still do, value proposition. And you've been very direct and aggressive with the close. You are a hunter through and through. You go for it. But how then have you not just been a commodity guy? How have you taken at scale and built relationships with people, JJ?
Well, I think our industry, what we need to understand we are going to commoditize a certain percentage of our business partners. It is what it is, as we are to them. So some of us, we're going to be in relationship with some of them. We're going to be vendors to some of them as well. And there's nothing we're going to do to change that. The sooner you realize that, the sooner that you're okay to scaling. So putting them in their necessary buckets. And this is something that we talked about at our event, and Oleg really did a great job on strategizing this really well, which is, think about it as your top 50. You have your top 50, and then you have your next 100, and then you have your best 300, and then you have everybody else. So you may talk to your top 50 once a week. You may talk to your top 100, your best 100 once a month, and then your next 300 once a quarter, and then everybody else gets your automated communications, emails, etc. So really organizing them that way doesn't limit you to be able to get in front of as many people as possible. Is it allows you to scale, where maybe some of these 500 or 600 realtors, ultimately go, wow, that's a value add. Oh, I like he does non-QM loans. Oh, I like he closes quickly. And you're capturing those, because the reality is if everyone had 500 realtors and all they did was send them one deal, they'd be okay with that. Yeah. And I think we're trying to get, 500 deals out of 25 people. And that's very hard to do. I'm not saying maybe there's someone out there that does it, but it's very hard to do. And I'm very clear that I can only be in a relationship with a handful. So even of the top 50, there's maybe only 10, 15 of them that I'm going to be in relationship with at a super high level that I can be. And I think everyone is okay with knowing where they are in that relationship, just like all of our friends. We have those friends, and if not, look on social media. You have those friends, if you look at them, you're like, oh yeah, acquaintances, people that I see once a quarter, people I see once a year, people that I see every week. So you already do it in your lives. And even for those people that are high relationship, you still have those buckets and unintentionally. And I think just being able to be strategic about it in your businesses and really look at them and go, okay, that person's awesome. They'll go great in this bucket. They'll go great in that bucket. And then obviously as relationships change, you can move them into different buckets so that you can, be more in front of them over time.
That's fantastic. I'm so happy we're talking about this because so many people are trust builders and they want to really, really, really like and be great friends, and they're worried about being liked. Like that's their whole deal is, did they like me? Do they like me? And if they don't send you a lead or they post on social with someone else, we get our feelings hurt. And I like that you're saying, yeah, some people we're going to be in that category with. But in order to do big volume, you have to have a lot of relationships, and your value proposition to some people is just going to be a commodity. And that's okay. And you got to be okay with that. That was really brilliant. What I would add to that, because I'm a volume girl, and I've closed 6,500 loans in 15 years. So I love volume. The way I've been able to do it is make sure that first coffee appointment is really deep. Like JJ, you and I, there's been times in the 12, 13 years that we've known each other, haven't seen each other for 5 years. But then we get together. We went on a walk 2 weeks ago, and it was like we go deep. And the one time that we came to SoCal and spent time by your pool and with your daughters and your wife and Galen's there and my girls are there, like that was super memorable. And it's only happened one time. And so the better you can get at really connecting with people at their core of who they are and what they care about and what their essence is, like you don't have to do it over and over and over again. In fact, Sigmund and I yesterday I was driving to my daughter's volleyball game. He was driving back from a volleyball game. Okay. We talked for a half hour. I can tell you in 6 years, I've talked to him one other time for a half hour. And I learned more about Josh. I was like, dude, there's so much about you I don't know. But I know the essence of him. He knows the essence of me. He's another soul brother because I want that kind of connection with people up front. And then they know who I am and I know who they are. And then you can scale, and they know how committed you are to helping them win. I don't think any one of those people that you've met with over the years, no matter what bucket they're in, JJ, would question how committed you are to getting them to win. Would you agree?
100%. Because a lot of the stuff that I do is one to many, where I do events and presentations, and I love doing the classroom style. And, even in those situations, my goal is to make sure it's very clear that I care, I know what I'm talking about, and I am there to help them and their clients win. And there's no question about that. No matter where you are sitting in the room, if you and I go deep afterwards, or if you just walk out, you're going to have that feeling and hopefully want to refer. And in my world, I have to have, and we've looked back at this for the past, I think we did a look back at about 8 years. I have about 200 real estate agents refer me every year, refer me leads. And I need that because in my marketplace, if you're a real estate agent, you can close 3 transactions and your spouse works, and then you're making $500,000 a year and you're good. And unfortunately, 3 deals doesn't mean you're going to get all of those and the buy sides, and that they're buy sides. And so I need to have volume of realtors to get the volume of leads I need to be able to get the amount of units I need to hit the goals that I want. So I don't know if it was as strategic as I had a number I needed to hit and wanted to hit. And the only way to do that was scaling, So for some people, I have loan officers, like they're whale hunters, like their average loan amount's like $3 million a piece. They know how to talk to those people. They know how to really do those loans really, really well. They can do 3-4 loans a month, and that's who they are. And they're relationship people and technicians too. And that's also a great business model. Frankly, it's
Yep.
probably a whole lot easier than my business model. So I think there is one for everyone. It's just finding really what is that for you and diving deep into it.
Let's just say that there's no easy way. If you're helping 4 clients a month and they're the big loans and you lose 2 loans, you've lost 50% of your pipeline.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Freaking emotional roller coaster.
Yeah.
So looking for the easy way is not at all what I'm going to promote or what JJ would ever promote, especially with perseverance principles. What I think you need to understand is, what are you willing to do? And I would say over and over again, JJ, the people on this podcast who have been growing 20 to 40% per year are those people that have 200 agents that they're building a relationship with. And they've just surrendered to the fact that they've got to know a ton of people and bring as much value to as many people as they can in the way that's natural for them. Again, whether it's on social media as a marketer, whether it's through small book clubs and small happy hours as a trust builder, whether it's one-on-ones through a trust builder that refer you really well inside of a circle, whether it's networking groups, hosting events, like, you got to figure out what you're willing to do, the hard you're willing to do.
And to add to that,
do it
consistently. Like, what are you willing to do consistently all the time? Because there's only so much that someone's willing to do that's hard, but are they willing to do it consistently every week? Are they willing to do it every day, every single month, over and over again? Because it's those compounding habits over time that really turn into the larger results. So if it's one of those things you're like, I'm willing to do that, but you're occasionally willing to do that, then you can't expect to get those same results unless you're consistent in it.
And I would just say, give yourself a 4-year timeline. Like, if you're starting now, if you're rebuilding now, if you went to burnout and you're like, I'm game on now, which, by the way, I started over like 6 years into the business because the same. I was a refi rep. I had done all streamlines. I was on the news. Like, I was building a completely different model. I was taking bank leads, JJ. Like, I closed 200 deals the year before I started getting coached, but it wasn't the business at all that was going to sustain me, or it was a real business. It was a high pressure job where I was starting over every single month. And so I think this consistency piece of doing a class a week, doing a value bomb video every single week, doing a daily market update text, like, you got to do something in your mind. You got to be willing to stick with it for 4 years, the equivalent of going through high school. And you can shift. I moved to Spain and I've stopped doing lunch and learns entirely. I stopped calling realtors on Monday entirely. I stopped doing Tuesday updates. Like, all the things that brought me here, I was able to shift out of. But in those 4 years of doing them with insane consistency and just going all out, I was able to create the financial freedom, the reputation, the team behind me, right? So it's not like you have to do things forever. And I think that's what people get. They get whiny about that, JJ. So let's talk about perseverance, okay? Sure. You write this book, you've got 7 principles. And one thing I know is that as a coach, I don't think I've ever heard anything but JJ is tough as nails. He is high on accountability, and your people get results. So I want to know, like, what informed you about writing this book, whether as a coach, as a leader, or was it a life purpose? Like, why'd you do it? What drove you to do it?
The book was, honestly, I think I don't want to say by accident, it was more a God drop, a God wink, because I was doing brand building exercise for impact. And then I'm like, you know what? I'm having a bit of identity crisis in my business because I'm wearing all these hats. I'm going to do a branding exercise with brand builders for myself and my business. And so we did that, and out of it came this structure, this format. And I have the picture. It's this brand title, The Power of Perseverance. And it's like, so everything under that, and when they go through this, it's pretty cool. What kind of food would you be? What kind of animal would you be? It's a really dope exercise to get to the essence of who you are and who you want, exercise. And out of this became this format for this book. And then from there, introduced me to someone who can help me write it. And then from there, introduced me to Wiley. And next thing I know, I'm pitching this book in front of a bunch of the publisher. And then they said yes. And then, here we are, getting it into people's hands. So it's just been one of those things, a thread that I pulled on that just seemed like there was, these things, these were principles that I had used in hindsight that I wish I had in hindsight, at the time. But what I was doing was they were just being developed in me, and God was developing these things. to this point where I feel like we can give them to people so that they can use them and benefit from them to push forward through these things. And man, I still have to use these things. It's not like, it's like, oh, I persevered. I'm 48 and it's all over. It's like, man, yesterday was a persevering day for me, and I had to remind myself. It's almost worse when you write a book like this and you're like, am I worthy enough? Am I good enough? Am I even using these principles? In fact, sometimes you take the book, you just throw it out the window, and then you got to go out the window, grab the book, and then look at it, and you're like, okay, that's right. I know how to do these things. So, persevering is a constant in this life, and that we know for sure.
I want every loan officer listening to this book, every leader listening to this podcast, to go buy JJ's book. We want to help him make the top seller, bestseller list. Come on, Rainmakers, go out and get JJ's book. And then I'd like you to buy several books. I'd like you to do a book study with your team. I'd like you to do a book study with your teenagers. I'd like you to do a book study with your real estate partners, because this is universal principles to live a great life. But let's apply this to coaching students, okay? So you're coaching me. I'm a loan officer. Your principle number one is fighting through your comfort zone. So as a student, where do you see that I typically get stuck in a comfort zone? And what do you need to push me through or move me through there?
So it's the discomfort zone, and the reason that is it's the place that makes us uncomfortable that we're avoiding, and that's where we need to dive into. We need to go into the place that we're avoiding that is making us uncomfortable and peel it back and ask questions. Where is the root cause of this? Why am I feeling uncomfortable about this? Because it's not usually one of those things you're like, oh, okay, I bang my knee and it's my knee and I hit it on the table, right? The knee's aching for long periods of time. There's more reasons behind it. And I think once we can get to those core root and reasons, then we can start deciding where we want to point ourselves and start leading ourselves in a different and better direction. I think that was the biggest thing. And that's the thing I have to do all the time, which is like, okay, this is making me uncomfortable. Why is it making me uncomfortable? Because otherwise, you get stuck in comfort, and then you find yourself complacent, and then you're going to have a real hard time pushing forward in the direction that you want to go, and you're going to probably just being pushed in the direction that somebody else wants you to go, whether it's external circumstances or people or anything else.
There's a saying that there's wisdom in insecurity, and this is wisdom in discomfort. A lot of people take on these self-claimed identities. I'm a procrastinator. I'm an overthinker. I'm a perfectionist. And then that identity causes this disconnect between what they say they want and what they're actually doing to take action in. So I coach a lot of people in Catalyst about being bold. That's a Rainmaker thing. You've got to frickin' be bold. You got to ask for the next step, ask for the business, and you got to book 2 appointments a day. So you're coaching me. I'm avoiding. I'm not picking up the phone and doing a power hour. What do I do to get the wisdom and of this principle of the discomfort so that I can do what I need to do?
So I think the first thing is why are you avoiding doing it? Like, what's the reason? And it really, so in this a perfect example is I'm avoiding to make the calls because of you probably are afraid of failure. You don't like being told no. You don't like rejection, says every person that's ever lived on the planet, right? So this is a common one, but how do you push through that? And that's where accountability comes in. So then it's like, all right, here's how we're going to push through that. You're going to make a boatload of phone calls, and it's not going to be, all right, how many yeses can you get? I'm going to make you get X amount of no's. And after about 100 no's, you're probably not going to be bothered by that many no's. And then you're going to find out how many of those 100 no's, how many yeses you got. And that's the reality in our business, especially, if you're really good, you're going to get 80 no's and 20 yeses out of 100 people. That is, if you're good, you got a 20% lead to fund ratio. That is the reality of it. If you're trying to tell yourself anything other than that, like, man, I should be getting 80 yeses and 20 no's, you're really setting your psyche up to fail, and failure doesn't breed confidence. So you've got to get to a point where confidence is what breeds performance in athletes and everything else. So in order to build that confidence, you have to also come come to reality of the situation that you're in. And I think sometimes we put this false reality of how many no's are actually involved in what we do versus yeses. And once you can really just come to that, you're like, oh yeah, I did get a bunch of no's, and oh yeah, it wasn't really so bad. And here's what's great on the phone. This is the best thing about phone sales. All you have to do is hang up.
Right.
Just hang up the phone and they instantly disappear. That was like the thing for me when I was doing phone sales. I was like, this is going terrible. I'm sounding like an idiot. Click. And it was gone. So I think we just make it like, oh my gosh, then they're going to put it on Channel 6 News and then, no, people, and people have more grace. Everyone wants to be forgiven and everyone wants a second chance. And I think if we understand that every human wants that, not every human is going to give it, but every human does want it, then it makes it a little bit easier going into it because most people are going to give it if you ask for it. And so that also is a bit comforting too.
Yeah, and people are generally nicer than you'd expect them to be, right? Because they can tell when you're in your humanness and you're going for it. So let's talk about self-leadership. What do you mean when you say that? What's required to persevere with self-leadership?
Well, I think you have to know which direction you want to go and make sure you're leading yourself in that direction. So one, what direction do you want to go in? Well, I want to be successful at this. Okay, awesome. Well, what are your habits? What are you doing? And is it you that's directing you in that direction? Many times your habits, who's directing you and what direction that you're going in is contrary to where it is that you want to go. And it's usually because of the discomfort that you haven't addressed. And so that's why it's principle 2 is, hey, once we can get through a discomfort zone, now we can start making sure we're making the right decisions of what direction we're going. I'm the one leading in that direction because I'm the one that chose the direction we wanted to go and not something else outside circumstances.
What's the third principle as we come to a close that you really want people to understand? Obviously, I want them to read the book. I want them to study it. I want them to like live it because, like you said, it's something that we need every day. We got to persevere through discomfort and emotions every day. But what's the third one that you say, I need these rainmakers to hear this?
Yeah, and I'll make sure I give you and all your folks a playbook so you have this, so you guys, because the playbook goes really, really well. It's the first one that goes with it. But I would say if you're all the principles to focus on, it's the fourth one. You could even skip the first 3, just go to the fourth one and go back to the first, which is tapping into a support system. Because man, it is when you're in a dark place or you're confused or you're lost, having a support system that you can tap into in any area of your life, which is how we met. And that was the support system that I tapped into. It's a game changer. When you're going at it alone and you don't have the directions, you can't be like confused on why you're lost. Right. But people will go at it alone without any directions, and then they get angry and frustrated that they're lost. It's simple. You're at it alone. You don't have any directions. Of course you are. So being able to tap into a support system with anything. I have a support system now for everything. I have one for money. I have one for health. I have one for business. I have one for, my mental health. Like, you need that. I have my family. I have my wife. So I think that is probably the most important. You have your catalyst team. So it really is, for us as coaches, that's the big one.
Thank you for saying that. How have you made peace with your past? What has been your steps to that?
Man, it's a daily process, right? Because every time I think I've made peace with my past, then some part of it comes back and challenges me. So I think it's an evolution. I think it becomes easier, but it is talking about it, working through it. It's daily affirmations. It's retraining my brain to think differently. It's retraining my brain to remind it that that's maybe who I was, not who I want to be or where I am, or that's just a part of me. And that part of me is okay. And that part of me is a part of why it is that I am here today. So it's a collective wisdom instead of a singled out part. That is a problem. And then making sure that, I'm not hanging out with clowns. If you hang out with clowns and people that are going to rob you of your peace, you've got to make that decision of removing them and adjusting that. I mean, because people will take your energy and will take your peace. And then when you start hanging out with those people again, they start reminding you of parts of you that don't serve you anymore. And so I think that of recent has been one of those things where it's like, man, I love these people. I care about them, but man, that's not a part that serves me anymore. So I can't really relate to it. I don't really want to relate to it. And misery loves company. So they will bring you in and pull that out of you. So I think it's constant work. So any of us who are working on that stuff, it is a constant. It's really, not being too far in the past and not being too far in the future, but really focusing on the present is what brings you the most peace for sure.
And when and how did Christianity come into your life and play an important part of this healing and this perseverance?
Yeah. So, Christianity, I was brought up as a Jehovah's Witness when I was younger, and that was just more of the family did it. This is what you do. And then family got kicked out of that sect for asking too many questions. And then, so it was just a weird, and then I was a teenager. But when Kimberly and I were first getting married, we went through premarital counseling and we got baptized at Saddleback Church, which is Rick Warren's church, Purpose-Driven Life. He actually started the church in my high school gym. So that's where I really got to know Christ in head. I didn't really get to know him in heart until my father died. Well, I want to say it was shortly before father died, but when my father died and my mom had died previously, and you're sitting there, and my dad was 90 when he passed. I was 45 at the time. And when you're looking at your father who just took his last breath, you know that you are an orphan now. We all get to be orphans one way or another at different times. And when you do that and you're 45 and you have a chance to kind of look at things of where you are, where you're going, where he is in that moment, it was just, for me, that was a defining moment of the Spirit being a bigger part of my life, and understanding I needed to take that discipline that I had in these other things and start aiming them in a direction of what mattered most.
Oh, how beautiful. Way to circle that around to discipline, and that you can continue to expand all the way throughout your life. And I like that you said there's one thing of knowing something in your head. It's a whole nother thing to have a relationship and know it in your heart. And yet again, sometimes it's the heart and it's the trauma, it's the sadness and the loss that wakes us up to the greatest gifts. In this case, a deeper relationship for you with God and Jesus and spirituality of whatever kind that people want to pursue it. So I just want to know how this community can support you being a bestseller and or just changing our lives and other loan officers' lives, because I know you and I feel way more successful than we deserve from this industry. Yeah. It has helped shape us in every way, not just our bank accounts, but what's your wish for this community? How can we support you? What would be the dream scenario?
Man, I think just going out and getting the book and reading it. And for those people that didn't get to, be there during the crash, this is going to be a huge help. For those people that maybe were part of this and need something to reflect on, I think the book's going to really talk to people that are loan officers and real estate people, but really it's for anyone. So yeah, perseveranceprinciples.com. They can get the book there, or Amazon or Barnes & Noble. They can get them on any of those sites. It's releases on October 7th. So that would be amazing. Or they can follow me at JJ Mazzo _ on Instagram. And, I throw all kinds of fun stuff on there as well. So that would be amazing.
So perseveranceprinciples.com, if I wanted to buy bulk, 5 to do a book study or 10 to do a book study, or would I do that on your website or through Amazon? Does it matter?
Yeah, no, great question. Do it on the website, because that will help us as far as the bestseller list. Plus, there's a lot of, you can see the different bulk buy opportunities. We give away free stuff the more books that you buy too. So definitely go on there and check it out.
So the playbook, go out and buy at least 5 of these copies. And then you had said that there's a playbook that you have to study
that I'll give to you, and you can share it with your folks and just have it. It's not something that I published. It's something that I made that we taught at Impact, and we found it's pretty cool and pretty helpful. So I'll give that to you and your folks.
Ooh, I've got a special resource. We will send it in the release of this episode over email if you have a PDF or whatever you have, JJ. Any final thoughts? We've got loan officers that are in the scared, stuck, burnt out, or ripping so fast with a lot of growth phase. What would you say for them to help them persevere?
Ben, I would tell you that scared, stuck, and burnt out is going to be a large percentage of time doing this, and that you just have to have faith, being in the right community, being with the right people, talk to people and help people, ask for help from people that have already been and paved the path that you want to go. And they will help make it lighter for you. So it is a part of the business, but it doesn't have to be a part of your business as long as you're willing to take direction and lead. And, obviously your listeners have an amazing leader in you, but listen, you can have a great leader, but if you're not going to follow, you're going to still be lost. So just know you're not alone, and that the less alone that you are, the better off that you'll be.
JJ, thank you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your bravery. Thank you for putting this gift into the world and into all of our hands. Guys, let's go out and buy Perseverance Principles by JJ Mazzo. Thank you. I love you, brother. Have a great day.
Thanks.